All right, so this is going to be an overview of the site-wide audit. Uh, I'm going to go over this from start to finish, so that way you can get a good over-the-shoulder look. There will be some random cuts where I kind of just cut out some clips that didn't have to be in there and just drove time on, or we're waiting for a report to load or something like that. But you can see right now that I'm just starting off pretty simply by filling out the master spreadsheet. Master spreadsheet initially gets filled out when you start a new audit with the site-wide audit and the page-by-page audit. Right now, by default, all of our sites are getting a full site audit and page-by-page audit. This might change in the future, but for right now, this is what to expect. But you can see me first. I'm making a copy of the site-wide SEO checklist, the template of it. And the reason I'm making a copy is so that I have a easy reference to create a new document from in the future. And if we need to change the process in the future, it's easy to just change the template. Now, when you create this document, name it with the domain that you're auditing, dash site-wide audit. From that point, make sure you move it into the folder. You want to move it into the folder for the site-wide audits. That folder, which is just on the screen. I don't know if I do it in this video, but where it says URL in row 1, we want to make sure that we enter in the URL of the domain that we are auditing. Once we create the site-wide audit spreadsheet, we move it to the right folder. We want to make sure we grab the URL of the first of the spreadsheet, and then paste that into the master spreadsheet under the site-wide URL column. At this point, you're also going to create a on-page checklist or on page-by-page audit copy. And you're going to name it the domain name and then page-by-page audit. Okay. Same things apply as the site-wide audit. You will move this into the appropriate folder once you duplicate the file. Obviously, I'm struggling to find the move button, but yep, so we're going to move into the task phase that we're working on. And then I think I'm just going to clear all this stuff out so that way, yeah, cool. So I'll start with a blank sheet. Again, this video is designed to be an over-the-shoulder from beginning to end of what to expect for the entire process. Notice I put the URL of the master sheet for the page-by-page audit. So that URL takes me straight to the master sheet of the page-by-page. The site-wide audit URL, it's just one sheet for the most part. So just make sure you're sending me the URL to this particular sheet right here. And you fill out the master audit sheet. Okay. Okay, nice. I do update it. So make sure you put the domain URL there in that first row. Now at this point, I'm beginning the site-wide audit with the very first row, and it's to make sure that all websites we're tracking analytics on. Now, by default, most of the sites will be tracking analytics across Google Search, Bing Analytics, Google Analytics, Microsoft Clarity, Rank Math, and that should be about it for analytics. Now, most sites will pass this by default because when the sites were initially set up, it is the very first thing that gets hooked up to the site is the analytics. It's actually in our standard operating procedures for the creation. Now you're watching me right now walk through the different analytic windows. This is kind of just me going through the entire checklist end to end, for the first time. Now, some of these items might get removed, depending. This checklist, is pretty much all encompassing for the most part. This would be even very useful in the case of we bring in outside clients. Right now, all the websites that we're working on is going to be just our own internal websites. So we might skip some steps here or there depending on where we see value in saving time and efforts, and then redirecting them. Yeah, this is Hrefs. We also track plus Hrefs. As far as KPIs, we're going to ignore that for now. We will update that later. We're going to use the detailed SEO extension to check the indexability of the site. And we're looking for the robots tag. In the robots tag, we want to make sure it says index. Index is normal. If it says no hyphen index, so no dash index, that's not normal. And we need to fix that as soon as humanly possible in 99.9% of cases, unless we've meant not to index that website. Now, the next thing up on the list is going to be to do a performance test on the site. Typically our sites do well on desktop out of the box. Where we do see a lot of a struggle is going to be on the mobile side of things. And most searchers are operating on mobile phones. So we want to make sure that our site is tailored to them and everything loads fast, well, and there's no missing elements. Right? Because if a website takes too long to load, especially if you're on a phone and you need information fast, like what are you gonna do? You're probably gonna hit the back button and then you're gonna go to the next website because you think that website's just not gonna load it then, right? So we want to make sure our website's snappy. Now, I'm doing this test on Lighthouse, which is Google's page speed insights tool. It gives you a particular score and goes through the entire loading and rendering of the page and lets you know what issues you're having. GTmetrix is a very similar tool, and oftentimes you're going to get different scores across both. I do suggest testing both of these and providing the link to um, all of the tests. So if you do a GTmetrix on mobile and you do a GTmetrix on desktop, and then you do a page speed insight and page speed insights on mobile and desktop, which I think it does mobile and desktop automatically. And if it does, that would be a total of 3 URLs that you'll be grabbing and you'll be updating the master spreadsheet with. I think you'll see inside of my video here coming up me grabbing those particular URLs. And I think I even denote what the particular score was on the URL right in my comments. It would be helpful if you did denote what the scores were right in the comments, regardless if I showed in this video or not, just so that way we know if it's lacking. Particularly if the score is under 80, I want to know about it. So denote that in the comments when you do post the URL to that test. Now at this point, I'm also customizing the user agent. I believe I did store these. So when you do log into GTmetrix, you're going to see a desktop and a mobile default profile. I want to use those because I have it set up ideally to represent our ideal user. Okay, at this point, I fast forwarded to the results. They do take a moment to load, and I'm just looking at lighthousemetrics.com, which is honestly just page speed insights. Um, I'm gonna go get this report as well, real quick. All right, so at this point, we have our results. You can kind of go through them and denote what's going on with them. But what I would really do is leave that up to the developer because the developer is going to be able to read these insights pretty quickly and decipher what's wrong with the pages and, ideally how to increase um, their loading efficiency so that way we can get these scores out. Uh, don't worry about this lighthouse metrics right here. I was just probably I was testing something out, but it's really just Google's page speed insights, which I'd rather have the page speed insights because it just gives you the raw information straight up. So I'd rather roll with that. Yeah, see, it gets its information from the same place. Me grabbing the report links. Here's me kind of just going over the report, trying to get an idea of why this particular page kind of hosed. I'm assuming this is the desktop layout. It looks like it at least. Like I said, our desktop scores are pretty phenomenal. I mean, they're relatively through the roof. It's our mobile scores that you're going to find 90, probably 5% of the time are going to be in the shitter. And while I know it's most sites that have mobile optimization issues, I need to know particularly what is the primary cause because the majority of these websites, they all get built out. They all get built out like pretty much the exact same way. And because they're all built the same way, it's really easy to figure out like if I can get a idea of what issues are affecting the majority of the websites that are like unique issues that apply to multiple different sites, it's really easy to then go through and fix that same issue across multiple sites. So this is what's going to help us out a lot is getting an idea of what the actual issue is. Um, ultimately at the end of the day, what I might end up doing is sitting down with the developer on each of these spreadsheets and figuring out what the actual issue is and then coming up with a solution and implementing it because it's really hard to audit the site and then walk through it with the dev at the same time. So it's a lot easier if I have, this information handy to me before we meet. Here you can see me just adding some additional notes probably. And the depth of your notes is probably going to increase as you gain more experience with audits. But, you know, every bit that you feel confident in notating, I would like you to notate. And then if you want to note something, but you're not too sure if you're on the right track, I want you to hit me up because it's a pretty complicated process. And to get it down to a T is going to take you probably somewhere in between 4 to 6 months. Um, we'll get there, but there's going to have to be a constant feedback loop where, I answer questions as they come up for you, and maybe we constantly train across things. But as far as the site-wide audit goes, step by step, it's pretty easy if you follow the instructions to a T. And then here we're going to SSL Labs just to check the SSL certificate on the website, making sure that it's encrypted. Now, while that SSL certificate is checked, what I'm doing now is just moving on to the next item because that test does take a bit of time. So the next item is kind of just talking about the design of the site. We're aiming to achieve a modern and up-to-date design of the site. And, while just looking at it, listen, it fits the bill. But I think that there is, some trust that we can gain by improving the design with users. And then also trying to help serve their intent, which is finding a qualified, in this case, roofing company, um, to replace a roof, repair a roof, put a new roof on, right? And, some of the notes that I'm leaving here have to do with design philosophy. Um, I think that I can probably boil this down into like a bulleted list of items that we're specifically looking for on page, as far as elements go on a web page. So, but ideally, just take a look at it, and there's a lot of white space above, the first H1 title on the page or header on the page. Arid zone roofs the islands. I think you can move that up and align it with the top of the quote form, and then let the quote form, essentially overlap with the white space. Um, this is just something that I've, developed after designing, hundreds of websites, but I think it's something that, if we get a design down that we want to use, which we will. Currently in the middle of planning a redesign for all these 100 sites. We just need a template for each one, um, albeit, category based. So, we need a template for detailing sites, a template for concrete sites, landscaping sites, etc. So we're in the middle of taking care of that right now. Um, and depending on when you're watching this, if it's in the future or not, this might be done by now. But all right, next up we've got the trust pages. Now, as far as trust pages, these are going to be your privacy policy, terms of service, terms of use, terms and conditions, reviews, and then aligning your business's name, address, and phone numbers and opening hours with the Google business profile. So when you go to contact us, these pages should have our business's name on it, or the business's name, the address, the phone number, the email. Um, the page does have a map on it, but I wouldn't consider this an explicit uh, address. I would still put the address. Now, here I'm also noticing something interesting where the name of the business, Arid Zone Roofs, does not align with the Google business profile um, on the website. This one says top rated roofers Gilbert. Um, And for some reason, the website's not on the business profile either. So I'm kind of just looking through this as it's a bit weird. And I'll probably, I think I do make a note about this later on. So yeah, I'm just checking the address. I'm checking everything, and it looks like we do need to make an update here. So obviously, I marked this a fail because the name, address, the phone number, opening hours are missing. The Google Business profile that's embedded on the website is not the correct, doesn't have the correct name on it. So in this case, something's going to have to change, either the brand name of the website. So we'd have to change the website branding to Top Rated Roofers, Gilbert. Um, or we would have to change the business profile name. In this case, I think the business profile's name was changed due to a branding issue. So obviously, we have to make a note about this. This is something that's very urgent and should be shared with me as soon as possible because this needs to be fixed. Now, I say all other checks pass, but um, I still have to check the privacy policy, and it looks like it doesn't. The privacy policy, we have a very specific privacy policies, and this one does not match our current version of our privacy policy. So we will need to update this. It doesn't even mention the right company name in there in some places. So this will need to be updated. I'll probably have to share with you what our privacy policies look like, and then we can take it from there. So that way you can see what we do expect them to look like. Here I'm adding, a note to the explanation for the examples or the instructions. Just updating it to include that the privacy policies should have specific information.
Your account has been leaked on the internet with your account information. This guy is bribing the Sony employees and PlayStation and leaking user data for his own sake. Like he takes, I thought PlayStation would solve the problem. We would come to a conclusion that everything would be fine. But sadly, nothing was solved. I tried my best to solve this. I even told them you can please. You can tell he has gotten a lot of platform properties because he's bald. They did this behind their back, about this trend now audience to explain all the reason and why this happened. But before that, let me introduce myself for the people who don't know who Hakim is about. My name is Hakim Hakim, aka Hakim. My nickname, I started gaming back in the 80s.
So here we're just we're looking at these redirects. I want to know why these were redirected and not necessarily why, but I want to make sure that they're redirected to pages that exist and that are relevant to what they should be. So what a redirect is a page that used to exist that had a specific URL, and then that URL later changed. So instead of see how it redirected, I typed in rooferphx.com/company, but when I hit enter, I was redirected to /about-us, which is still relevant because it tells you about the company themselves. I'm just checking these real quick. In most cases, they'll be properly redirected, but you can never be too sure. But really, this check was to make sure that uh, there was no pages marked no non-indexable. That should not be. So a redirected page would obviously be non-indexable because it doesn't exist anymore, and it's redirected to a new page, and that page would be the indexable page. As far as website bloat goes, which is the metric we're tracking, we just want to see if word counts are significantly inflated for pages where it looks like the page was just stuffed with words to make it appear valuable versus actually being valuable. Um, and what we can see is some pages are a little light on actual content, but the pages that have content have word counts between anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200, which is relatively very good, actually. So we're not running into a bloated website issue here. Now, thin content is just pages that don't have very many words. So, for example, the homepage only has 300 words, you know. That's a very low word count, especially for a homepage. Um, I don't think we're giving this user enough information, nor are we giving Google enough information about our website to be able to rank it. Here, we're just going to check and see if we have some outdated content. The way that you would do this is you would just filter, usually by your header. So you see I selected the H1 tab here, and you can even go by page titles. And all I'm doing is just typing in previous years up to, about 4 or 5 years back, to see if there's any content on the site that was optimized for those years. In this case, this site doesn't have very much content, so it was an easy check, and I already knew because the site was created this year that it wouldn't have any content from previous years, but it's still worth checking, because some sites are 2, 3, 4 years old. So here we're just going to check the page titles. Now this is a meta title, and first thing I notice is every page has a title, but a lot of the pages have the same exact title. And that's not good because the title is one of the most significant ways that we can indicate what the page is about. And if the page title is just Phoenix dash arid zone roof, there's no keywords in there. We want to be able to indicate to Google that this page is about a specific topic, and a topic might be, you know, roof replacement. So we want to make sure that if the page is about roof replacement, that roof replacement, especially if you want to target that keyword and have people click on our website from that search phrase, we got to tell Google that our page is about that specific thing. And the first way that we do that is through the page title. The second way we do it is through the H1. So it is the heading 1 on the page. This is the actual visible on page titles that we're looking at now. See how we selected the H1 tab. Let me just ignore this call real quick. Then I'm going to leave a note here. Okay, so now we're just going to go ahead and check the spelling and grammar. Just want to see if there's any significant spelling or grammar mistakes and what they are. If it's just the name of the company or brand related stuff, obviously, that's not a grammar mistake. But in most cases, there shouldn't be a whole lot of spelling or grammar issues. Now, what I've pulled up here is going to be it's the Screaming Frog report, but just put into a spreadsheet. You could do this one of two ways. What I'm going to check now is internal link coverage and make sure that, all pages have sufficient internal link coverage. And the way that we do this is um, checking the unique in links per page, which is going to be, it's a column in this spreadsheet. And you can even check it in Screaming Frog itself. But basically, you're just looking for, several unique in links per page. And then we want to leverage, our most powerful pages to give. Now we're just going to Siteliner, find the duplicate content that might be on our site. Some of these services do require credits. So if for whatever reason the service is out of credits, just let me know. I can update or I can refill credits, right? Now, as far as Siteliner goes, looks like we have a lot of pages that have duplicate content. So these are pages that share verbatim phrases. So, they're pretty much the words on the page are identical across all these pages, which is it's absolutely not a good thing. So pretty much all of these pages are going to require a full rewrite. And that's going to be something that I will teach you how to do as well, just not in this video. We're strictly focusing on the audit for now. Okay, now we're just going to go and check the site for AI content. So my first attempt here, I tried to do a full website scan. It didn't really work out too well. A lot of pages gave us an error when trying to fetch it. So, I wasted a little bit of money here by attempting it. But later on, I end up actually just going and doing a content scan of the. Let's see. But what's going to end up happening is a huge amount of this content is going to come back as AI because it was AI built. This website was something that we built just to kind of test the waters on something, and now we're committing to it. So, we got to beef this thing up. And then that last one was obviously a fail because of reasons that we talked about earlier. And yeah, so this should, for the most part, conclude the site-wide audit. I understand questions are going to come up, and advice is going to be needed along the way, and I'm happy to help with that. So just keep me in the loop every step of the way, and let me know, what I can help understand better, clarify, and really help turn you into an expert at this.